It is 3:14 a.m. You are staring at the ceiling, and the shadows in the room are starting to look a lot like your worst anxieties. You look at the harsh blue light of your phone. On the screen is a single two-word message from your boss, or maybe a client, sent 12 hours ago. Sounds good. For most people, that interaction ends the moment the message is read. But for you, those two words were an activation code. In the span of just a few hours, your brain has constructed a sprawling, intricate labyrinth of meaning. Why didn't they use punctuation? Were they annoyed by the timing of my email? Is my project actually terrible? Am I slowly being pushed out? You feel exhausted. You probably feel like there is something fundamentally wrong with you. Your entire life, people have told you to just let it go. Your friends, your family, and a million self-help articles have labeled you as an overthinker. They tell you to live in the moment. They treat your mind like a broken engine that's constantly overheating, something that needs to be fixed, quieted down, or distracted. But what if everyone is completely, utterly wrong? What if this agonizing spiral isn't a flaw at all? What if what you are experiencing is actually the raw, uncalibrated exhaust of a cognitive superpower? What if you aren't a broken machine, but a supercomputer being forced to run incredibly mundane, low-resolution software? Let's reframe exactly what is happening inside your head. To understand why you think the way you do, you have to look at how different minds process the world. When an average brain walks into a crowded room, it does its owner a massive favor. It automatically deletes about 90% of the background noise. It looks around, categorizes the room as safe, and essentially goes on standby. It keeps them comfortable. It keeps them blissfully oblivious. Your brain does not do that. Your brain refuses to ignore anything. When you walk into that same room, you don't just see people and furniture. You are hit with a tidal wave of raw data. You instantly notice the slight unnatural tension in your colleague's jawline. You register that your friend's voice is half an octave higher than it was yesterday, meaning they're secretly stressed. You absorb a casual, throwaway joke and instantly deconstruct its passive-aggressive undertones. To the outside world, you just look like you're sitting quietly, staring at your coffee. But beneath your skull, your mind is burning through massive amounts of data, desperately trying to map out cause and effect. This is where your pain comes from. You are trapped in a relentless stream of variables. You overanalyze everything because you are wired to notice the things everyone else is completely blind to. In the ancient world, survival favored the person who heard a twig snap in the dark and spent all night agonizing over whether it was just the wind or a predator waiting in the trees. You are the descendant of the person who stayed awake. The problem is, right now, your survival instinct is misplaced. You are using an incredibly powerful threat detection system to analyze a Tuesday afternoon office email. Because you take in so much data, your brain naturally tries to organize the chaos by building predictive models. And this leads to one of the most isolating experiences of your life: the burden of foresight. Think about a perfectly normal Friday afternoon at work. Your team is launching a new initiative. Everyone is celebrating, mentally spending their bonuses, talking about how great this is going to be. But you are standing at the edge of the room, feeling a cold knot of dread in your stomach. You aren't trying to be negative. You don't want to ruin the mood. You just can't help the fact that your brain has already automatically synthesized the project manager's history of missing deadlines, the current trends in the market, and a subtle, fatal flaw in the plan that everyone glossed over. Within seconds, your mental simulator has mapped out the timeline and calculated an 80% probability that this entire project collapses in 4 months. So, you try to warn them. You raise your hand and point out the flaws. And what happens? The room goes quiet. People roll their eyes. You worry too much, they say. Stop overthinking it. Just be a team player and stay positive. 4 months later, the project implodes exactly the way you saw it. The team is devastated. They blame the economy, they blame bad luck, They blame everything except their own lack of vision. You stand there in the wreckage, feeling a profound, heavy silence. This is the hidden tax of high intelligence. You have to surrender the comfort of blind optimism. You have to accept that your brain will constantly pull you into the future, forcing you to look at the sharp edges of reality while everyone else is playing in the sandbox. It is incredibly lonely, but it is also the exact mechanism that stops you from stepping on landmines. And here is where the story shifts. Here is where you stop apologizing for your mind and start realizing what an unfair advantage you actually hold. Overthinking is only a weakness when it happens to you passively. When you learn to harness it, it becomes an unparalleled tactical weapon. Imagine you are walking into a high-stakes scenario. Maybe it's a tense salary negotiation, a difficult conversation with someone you care about, or a massive presentation that could make or break your year. An average person walks into these situations relying on their gut. They have a plan A. They know what they want to say. But the moment reality deviates from plan A, the moment the other person throws a curveball or gets aggressive, they crash. They stutter. Their mind goes blank. Not you. By the time you pull up a chair at that table, you have already lived this conversation 100 times. Your overthinking forced you to lie awake the night before, building a massive, sprawling decision tree in the dark. You played out their aggression. You played out their dismissiveness. You pre-calculated every possible counter-argument they could throw at you. When they lean across the table and say the exact phrase you feared most, your heart rate doesn't even spike. Your brain simply reaches into the archives and opens file number 47. You look at them with terrifying calm. You deliver a flawless, precisely calculated response that neutralizes their leverage entirely. To everyone else in the room, it looks like magic. They will call you quick-witted. They will praise your natural confidence and your brilliant improvisational skills. They have absolutely no idea that you aren't improvising at all. You are just reading from a script your hyperactive brain wrote while everyone else was sleeping. You have traded the peace of the present moment for absolute dominance over the future. You have, for all practical purposes, time traveled. But there is a trap here, and it is the reason you are still exhausted. Many highly intelligent people figure out this advantage, but they never learn how to turn it off. They let the simulator run 24 hours a day, draining their battery, entirely unable to just sit and enjoy a quiet moment. They use this massive computing power as a shield to protect themselves from ever feeling vulnerable. Because as long as you are thinking, you feel safe. Thinking feels like doing something. But eventually, intelligence without discipline just devolves into anxiety with a better vocabulary. The ultimate sign of a master intellect isn't the ability to think endlessly, it is the ability to stop thinking on command. You have to transition from being the captive passenger of your mind to being the one holding the steering wheel. To do this, you have to introduce a very simple rule to your own brain, the law of diminishing returns. The next time you find yourself caught in the spiral, analyzing a social interaction, or paralyzing yourself over a life choice, let the simulation run. Let your intellect map out the worst-case scenarios. Let it do what it does best. But then, with ruthless authority, pull the plug. You have to tell yourself, I have mapped out the outcomes. I know the risks. The variables are now just repeating themselves. Thinking about this for another hour gives me no new data. End program. You cut power to the analysis engine, and you immediately route all that raw, terrifying energy into action. Action is the only true antidote to an overactive mind. The real world is the only place your simulations can actually be tested. You have to accept the terrifying truth that no amount of pre-thinking can guarantee a perfectly safe outcome. At some point, you just have to step into the dark and trust that your brain is fast enough to handle whatever is in there. And you already know it is. So, the next time you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, feeling the crushing weight of 1,000 racing thoughts, stop fighting it. Stop shaming yourself. Do not view those thoughts as a burden. Look at them for what they truly are, the sparks flying off a massive, incredibly powerful engine that is idling in neutral. You are not broken. You just possess a high-resolution lens in a low-resolution world. Your intelligence is demanding a task worthy of its capacity. Stop using a supercomputer to analyze the punctuation in a text message. Give it a real problem to solve. Build something. Write something. Direct that immense, chaotic power toward a physical, tangible goal. Stop apologizing for your overactive mind. Find the switch. And press play on reality.